You'll remember how going clear back to last summer, we discussed the sad realities of crypto herd dynamics and how we would eventually see Cardano drinking the tears of some maximalists of other chains who told everyone that Cardano was vaporware. Well, grab some glasses and the ice, guys. It looks like they're bringing bottle service even earlier than we thought. Ready? Let's go. Today, we'll do our periodic checkup on how many excuses the Cardano haters have left. I think we're getting pretty close to zero. We'll talk about the update on the SundaeSwap ISO rewards claim process, Yoroi finally getting a dApp connector, the nation of Palau kicking off something that is not quite crypto residency, unfortunately. And we'll also talk about the DOJ finally catching the Bitfinex hackers. Some of that recovered Bitcoin may have been mine, but I have a strong suspicion I won't be getting any of it back. It's always interesting to see how people react when their frame of reference for evaluating reality starts to collapse. And it's only a slight exaggeration to say that many traditional crypto enthusiasts, not all, but many, sort of have this worldview that Bitcoin is the king, Ethereum is the queen, and everything else is a thief in the night. And certainly there have been thieves in the night, but it's also true that it's very difficult to retain your throne if you're not the strongest. One of the reasons that these maximalists seem to be getting so much more aggro is that they've recently had to suffer the indignity of articles like this one. Vitalik Buterin, this is from Crypto Briefing, by the way. Vitalik Buterin, Ethereum will likely never be much faster. The co-founder of Ethereum has explained why the network will not likely get much faster. And to be fair, these types of articles are often sensationalized. If we look at the link they actually provide, we find this Reddit post where Vitalik does not say that Ethereum doesn't have any kind of means to speed up transaction times, but he does say, I don't expect the per slot time to be reduced much in the future. Applications that need really fast confirmations would have to rely on either channels or rollups with sequencers providing pre-confirmations. If you watch this channel, you already knew that Ethereum 2.0's scaling hopes don't really lie at the base layer. They lie in L2s. And we've even talked about this in the context of Cardano back in a video on September 9th of last year called Cardano and the Layerverse. But it seems like these traditional crypto maximalists can already see the writing on the wall. It's like they're sitting there stroking their burgeoning neckbeards, saying to themselves, oh my gods, the vitamin keeps walking back the Ethereum 2.0 expectations. It's almost like he knows Ethereum 2.0 is not going to be as awesome as we want it to be. What if the worst days of days comes and Cardano actually wins? What if this upstart smart contract blockchain that doesn't even use Solidity somehow takes the throne of the queen? Their frame of reference for evaluating reality in the crypto space is collapsing. So they do the only thing they can. They launch into panic mode and start reciting the group membership chants. Cardano is a ghost chain. Cardano is vaporware. Unfortunately, for people with that worldview, we're over here in Cardano with over 3 million wallets. We're transacting back and forth in over 3.2 million native assets. We're swapping tokens and providing liquidity on multiple different DeFi platforms at this point, with lots more to come. And our blockchain is 78.3% full right now. So what do? They fall back to the oldest logical fallacy in the book, the ad hominem attack. Here we have someone, it looks like related to CoinDesk, someone from CoinDesk, according to his profile, saying, whenever we feel divided, and I'm just going to paraphrase here, whenever we feel divided, let's just attack Charles Hoskinson. Ada Well was so on top of these guys today, and I love it. Apparently, that advice is all too easy to take, even if you, according to your profile, formerly led crypto at ARK Invest. This honestly reminds me of one of those high school reunions you go to where all the cheerleaders are sitting in the corner and the girl who used to be the honor student has like taken care of herself. So now she's hot on top of having some kind of amazing career. And the cheerleaders are over in the corner because they're like divorced and haggard and bitter and sad. No matter what, they're still going to be like, oh my God, I don't know why all those guys are talking to Jenny. She was never cool. No, she is not cool. No matter what, they're going to hate you because they don't have what you have. And that's a bright future that you worked hard for. Guys, these types of characters, they know what's happening over here on the Cardano side. They know we've only launched a fraction of the projects that have been building on Cardano. They've seen those Cardano ecosystem maps. They see what's happening. They know things are just going to get worse and worse and worse for this position they've so steadfastly clung to. And we're just going to see more and more of these types of posts. So keep fighting the good fight out there, but don't drive yourself crazy with this stuff because at the end, these types of characters are going to be pretty irrelevant to the growth of Cardano. Man, when you see stuff like this is us living rent-free in their heads. Next up is them giving us bottle service with their tears. I said extra ice, Christopher. No tip for you. Neither kind. Okay, enough of that nonsense. We now know when and how we can get our SundaeSwap ISO rewards. They dropped this little article right here, ISO rewards claiming date and information via drip drops. The upshot is the ISO rewards will be claimable, according to this article, on March 1st through drip drops. I know some of you are saying to yourselves, I don't want to pay that very small ADA fee at drip drops. If that is the case for you, they say if you don't want to pay the drip drops fee, we'll be building out a service to claim your rewards in the coming months. You will have 1 year to claim your rewards, so there'll be plenty of time to claim without having to pay drip drops service fee. I know what you're thinking. You're like, hey, what if hey, we're going pretty far down the flowchart here, but what if I don't want to pay the drip drops fees and I keep all of my ADA that I use for the ISO in Yoroi, which does not have a dApp connector? How am I going to collect all of my ISO rewards from whatever website or faucet or whatever SundaeSwap eventually sets up? Well, you are in luck. Yoroi now has a dApp connector. They say Yoroi Wallet's desktop extension versions on Windows, macOS, and Linux now support dApp connector capabilities. We'll begin working with Cardano dApp teams in supporting our latest feature. So hopefully we will have a Yoroi dApp connector integrated into whatever solution SundaeSwap comes up with for claiming your rewards if you don't want to use drip drops. These kinds of stories are always interesting to me. So the Pacific Island nation of Palau is kicking off a digital residency program for so-called crypto citizens. But I don't think this is what you want it to be when you see the phrase digital residency. So apparently during COVID, their tourism industry got decimated like many tourism destinations. So they decided for $248, you can buy a limited edition NFT that doesn't give you like citizenship in Palau or any kind of real rights like you would hope. It sounds like what it gives you is use of a Palauan business address, the ability to apply to change your name legally, and the ability to open online accounts to trade cryptocurrencies. Maybe that last piece is the most interesting. I'm sure there will be some crypto businesses that pop up with addresses in Palau because they're doing this. Maybe the last piece is the most interesting to some people. We've talked about a bigger theme around all this on the channel before. If there ever actually was a widespread adoption of crypto and people were using it for everything, everyday commerce and their entire economic life, there's a version of that where it's very difficult for governments to collect taxes. If governments can't collect taxes, it becomes very difficult for them to do what governments need to do. And this is probably at all levels, at the city level, the state or province level, the nation state level. And I don't think that means that governments would cease to exist, but it could, in some versions of this, it could mean that there's a delinkage between geographic boundaries and entities like governments that provide certain services. Because there are certain services that people, most people need, and, a large number of people want. And those probably would still need to be provided, even if there was this delinkage of government service provision and geographic boundaries. So we could end up with, sort of citizenship in the pool of people receiving government services from a government, and that not necessarily being a government that's local to you geographically. Maybe it's somewhere in the world, and they're providing you these services, and it's just kind of like this joint economic layer that provides services to anybody across the globe who wants those services. But it could be that you're not a member of that same pool of people for that same government, in air quotes, that everybody geographically around you is a part of. I think that's just one possible version of this in the future. Obviously, there's things like, fiat on ramps and off ramps with KYC that could stymie and prevent all that, and maybe it's dystopian, maybe not. But I think there's one possible version of crypto adoption that goes down a road that looks a little bit like that. But that's a bigger story for another video. Finally, the Department of Justice has captured the hackers involved in the Bitfinex 2016 hack. They say they've arrested two people who they think are the hackers, and they've recovered 3.6 billion in cryptocurrency linked to that hack. I think you probably remember on this channel I've said before that I had Bitcoin on Bitfinex when this hack occurred, and the way the hack was addressed, Bitfinex came out, let us all know, hey, we've been hacked. Only certain accounts on the exchange were hacked. But what we're going to do is we're going to socialize the losses. So if you were holding assets on the exchange, you took a haircut on your assets, and I lost what today would be a sizable amount of Bitcoin. Not life altering or anything, but for me, sizable amount of Bitcoin. It was either taken during the hack directly by the hackers, or I was just part of the socialization of the losses. Either way, I had less Bitcoin after than I did before. And at the time, it just kind of, made me mad. And then as the price of Bitcoin grew, it became an amount of money that I would actually care about. So what Bitfinex did, this is a while ago, so if I remember correctly, they issued us a token. And it was like, I can't remember what it's called, but it was like the BFX token. And so I ended up with this BFX token. And eventually, and the BFX token, the thing was, by the time I was able to turn that thing into cash or any kind of asset I cared about, what they did was they reimbursed us with a BFX token to the tune of the value of the Bitcoin we lost at the time of the hack, not the value of the Bitcoin at the time they reimbursed us. So they gave us this token that they minted. And by the time we got our hands on that token, if I recall correctly, by the time we got our hands on that token, the amount they gave us, the value of that token they gave us, was worth much less than the Bitcoin we had lost would have been worth at the time we got that token. So they reimbursed us for the amount, for the value of the Bitcoin we lost at the time we lost it. But by the time they gave us this token to replace the Bitcoin, the Bitcoin we had would have been worth much, much more. So I think a lot of people who were in the same boat as me, when they saw this, there's probably some glimmer of hope in the back of their brains that possibly if these assets have been recovered, maybe possibly they would at least give us back that delta between the amount our Bitcoin would have been worth and the amount they actually gave us when they gave us those BFX tokens or whatever they were called. But after the recovery of those assets by the DOJ, Bitfinex released this, in which they said sounds like they're super happy about the recovered funds. And if Bitfinex receives a recovery of the stolen Bitcoin as described in the Unis Sed Leo token white paper, Bitfinex will, within 18 months of the date it receives that recovery, use an amount equal to 80% of the recovered net funds to repurchase and burn outstanding Unis Sedleo tokens. I don't know if there's any relationship whatsoever between those BFX tokens or these Unis Sedleo tokens. I can't even remember if I still have those BFX tokens. So I don't think I'm going to be seeing any kind of return on that margin that my Bitcoin would have been worth. But the real moral of the story was that was the beginning of my understanding that you cannot trust even the biggest centralized entities to be the custodian of your funds. No matter how big they are, no matter how trusted they are, you can't really trust anyone to be the custodian of your funds. There's too many hackers out there looking for exploits every single day, and they're going to find those exploits eventually. Sure, you could argue that some entities now are maybe insured and you wouldn't even ever hear about the hacks because they're just going to replace your money immediately, something like that. Maybe that's the case, but there sure have been a lot of hacks over the years in crypto, going all the way back to this one and long, long before. You're a lot safer to just put your money on your ledger. If you don't have a ledger, there's an affiliate link down below. I hope you're having a great week, and I will talk to you tomorrow.